The next factor to consider is actually two factors, but they are put together because they are somewhat similar. So they are the multi-homing cost and the switching cost. So this cost happens when there are multiple platforms. Suppose you do have multiple platforms, let's say P1 and P2. Then for consumers or let's say sellers, the multi-homing cost is paid for a user to use multiple platforms simultaneously like this. Okay? So for example, maybe you are using two platforms at the same time. Sometimes you go to PC Home, sometimes you go to Yahoo, sometimes you go to eBay, and so on. Then you are multi-homing. Okay? So the multi-homing cost may be high or low. For example, if you are talking about C2C marketplace, then I guess as a consumer, your multi-homing cost is quite low. There's almost nothing you need to pay to multi-homing. The switching cost is paid to leave one platform and switch to another. As a seller, for example, for maybe at the beginning you are selling all your products on platform 1. Then one day a customer service member somehow is fighting with you and you feel sad. You say, I will completely ignore platform 1. I will cancel my account from platform 1 and then create a new account for platform 2 and then sell my products there. If that's the case, then how unwilling you are going to do that is the switching cost. Okay, so both multi-homing cost and the swimming cost should contain the physical cost and also the mental cost. Okay, so maybe that when you cancel your account, no one is going to charge you any penalty. Maybe when you sign up for another new platform, no one is going to charge you a registration fee. But the time you need to spend to move your products here to there, to re-upload your information, to rebuild your account, those time also counts as switching cost. Also, you need to learn for the new system, that's also switching cost, and so on and so on. Okay? So they don't just count those physical things. They also count those time, opportunity cost, mental cost, all that kind of cost. It's simply measuring how unwilling you want to do multi-homing, how unwilling you want to do switching cost. Okay? So very quickly, let's take a look at some examples. On C2C marketplace, as we mentioned, buyers have low multi-homing cost. And probably you also agree that buyers also have low switching cost. If you always buy at Amazon, for example, if one day Amazon really make you unhappy, you try to use eBay or you try to use Taobao in the future, there's almost nothing you lose, right? You probably need to rebuild your credit card information, report your shipping address, but that's just a little bit. So basically for buyers, these costs are low. Well, how about users on a social networking site? You probably would agree that if you are using Facebook every day, you have a lot of photos there and you have a lot of friends there, it would be not so good if you want to switch to Google+. So Google+ was a social networking service created by Google. Well, it's nice, it's good, but if everybody is already using Facebook and you have so many Facebook friends, if you cancel your account here and create another account, you lose all your connections. All right? And it's very difficult to ask all your Facebook friends to create a Google+ account. And if that's the case, then the switching cost would be really high. Not to mention those posts, those tags, those photos you have on Facebook, right? So those switching costs do exist, even though all the services are free. How about users of smartphones? Well, if you want to do multi-homing on smartphones, that means you need to have two cell phones, right? You need to have one cell phone as iPhone, another cell phone in Android. If that's the case, then do you have any multi-homing cost? Well, I guess so, because first, the two systems are quite different. So the way you operate your cell phones is different. So you need to switch between either one, and then you need to learn both methods. Okay? So multi-homing creates some issues there. And then suppose you want to transfer data between each other. Oh, that's also another story. You need to somehow manually do a lot of things. On the contrary, if you have two devices from Apple, for example, if you have iPad and iPhone, typically transferring data is not an issue. Transferring apps is not an issue, right? But if you have a tablet in Android and also an iOS phone, that's going to create some troubles. Also, for apps, if you have purchased apps here, and for the next time you want to use the same app as Android, you need to buy it again. But if you have two devices in iOS, you don't need to buy it again. So there are always some kind of switching cost and multi-homing cost if we are talking about users of smartphones. Okay? So now the rule is the following. If you are a platform and if you have two sites, then probably your major revenue source should come from the site with higher multi-homing cost and higher switching cost. Because if you try to charge the site with low multi-homing cost and low switching cost, those guys will go away. Because it does not hurt for them to multi-homing, to choose other guys, or even to abandon you. So if that's the case, if you charge them, that's going to be very dangerous, right? So it's better to charge those guys with higher multi-homing cost and higher switching cost. Okay, so let's consider eBay, or in general C2C marketplace. They again charge more from the sellers to subsidize buyers. We already mentioned to you that if there is a C2C marketplace, for consumers, these two costs are small. Then how about buyers? For buyers, do they have high switching cost when they are talking about C2C marketplace? You may need a while to think about it, but I guess you would agree. Suppose that there are two C2C marketplaces. If a buyer is doing a good business with platform 1 for many years, what will it get? It will get a lot of ratings, a lot of reviews, right? And if he wants to cancel his account in platform 1 and create a new account in platform 2, oh, that's going to create a lot of trouble because all those ratings, reviews will be gone. And then he becomes a new user, a new buyer, a new seller. Oh, that's going to create a lot of troubles. Okay, I should say they are sellers. I'm sorry, they are sellers. So if you are a seller and you already accumulated a lot of ratings and reviews, you are not going to cancel your account easily. You are not going to switch because that switching cost is so high. Similarly, let's talk about multi-homing cost. So suppose there is a seller tries to sell the same product at different multiple platforms. Okay, if that's the case, what's going to happen? An inventory management issue is going to happen. So let me explain. Suppose you have 3 used textbooks and you want to sell them on Amazon, on eBay, on Taobao, for example. Suppose that someone tries to order 2 books from you. Then what you do? You're going to take 2 books, ship them to that customer. That's fine. But at the same time, you need to be aware that there is another platform. Those consumers there still think you have 3 books. So you need to go there and manually decrease that number to be 1. If you really have a lot of products, that's going to create a lot of difficulties for you. Then that's some kind of multi-homing cost, right? Because if you don't multi-homing, you don't have this inventory management issue. Whatever people buys 1 or 2 from you, you don't really need to have any person to do manual adjustment. Because that's C2C marketplace, there must be some seller system that's going to take care of the information regarding inventory. All right? If you don't multi-homing, you don't have that cost, then that cost is a multi-homing cost. So in summary, for sellers, they do have higher multi-homing cost. They do have higher switching cost. That's why they should be the side to subsidize consumers. If you charge consumers, it's easy that they will leave. But for sellers, if they already get a lot of ratings, then they really cannot leave. If they already have a lot of products, then inventory management is really an issue. Multi-homing cost is high. So in general, charging from sellers is a good idea. The last factor is about the easiness of collecting fees. So maybe this is very direct. Sometimes it's just too difficult for you to get money from a site. So if that's too costly to charge a site, maybe you just want to ignore that. For C2C marketplace, if you think about sellers or if you think of individual buyers, which one is easier for you to communicate with, to deal with, and to charge from? I guess it's sellers. Because in many cases, sellers are actually small merchants. Okay? So if they are merchants, if they want to do business, it's easier to get money from them. Buyers are in many cases individuals. They are around the world. They may hide, they may cancel their accounts easily and then create another account. It's not so easy to do business with buyers. Then it's costly to charge them. Search engines, it's easier to collect fees from advertisers, I guess, because again, they are merchants. While searchers, they are individuals. Individuals may run away, but merchants are typically still there. Okay? Merchants are easier to form some kind of money payment systems with you. So it's easier to charge advertisers, to charge companies. That's why they become subsidizers. Okay? So don't forget, we should charge more from the site that is easier to collect fee from. So here is a table that you may want to spend 1 minute or 2 minutes to review the things I mentioned regarding these 5 factors. For example, for price elasticity, you have high and low to be entered to these two blank empty spaces. Okay, so for one side, they should have high price elasticity. For the other side, they should have low price elasticity. Okay. So for same-side network externality, you may want to enter strong or weak, weak or strong, positive, negative, negative, positive, and so on and so on. Okay? Try to help yourself to complete this form, complete this table. And then write down the characteristics of subsidizers in the first column, and then write down the characteristics of subsidies in the second column. That's something you want to do. And after that, you will be able to create a checklist for you to consider the cross-subsidization strategy about choosing which side to be your subsidizer, choosing which side to be your subsidizing. It's possible that some factors are conflicting with each other. Then it's up to you, the decision maker, to think about which one out of the 5 is the most dominant issue. And then you may make your decision. That's the general idea. Okay, so for this part, I'm going to stop here. And for the remaining discussions, I will leave them to lecture 4B. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.